Hey, and welcome to iHeart Intellectual Radio, Black Conservative Podcast. I am your host, Alan J. Campbell, aka the Dark Knight, here in the city of Gotham. All right. Okay, so a couple of things that I'm going to address. Okay, a couple of things. Some on the funny side, some serious, and some are directly, and some are direct. Okay. Um, what is amazing? No, let me rephrase that. What is not amazing to me? Not amazing. The fact of the matter that we had 34 plus shootings over this supposedly Easter weekend, okay? Or for some of you who don't say Easter or celebrate Easter, such as myself, I say the resurrection, the resurrection day. But my point in saying that 34 shootings out of the 34, I believe there were seven fatalities. Okay. So just so that I'm clear. So that I'm clear on that, I'm going to definitely pull up my notes on this because this no, absolutely makes no sense. No sense whatsoever. And it just continues, and this is just a thing that just continues to sometimes behoove us on the number, the level of violence that continues to escalate and continues to go in the direction that it's going. And just for example, just Saturday night, this goes against the comments, this goes against nature, against common sense, and what we should know, what we shouldn't tolerate, but we do. Just Saturday night, there were five women who were at a gathering, standing out front of a venue, and somebody drove by and started shooting at women, hit all four women, killing one. Okay. I'm trying to understand, yeah, and I say that rhetorically. I'm trying to understand that. What could what could these women have possibly said, did, or done for someone to warrant to do a quote unquote a drive-by shooting? What warrants that? How does that even escalate and to a point to where this is what we're going to do? And not to mention, this was between 1 and 3 in the morning, Sunday morning. Okay. And people are out, doing what they doing or whatever the case may be. But we keep saying to ourselves, okay, when and where does it end? When and where does it end? Okay. The fact of the matter, you had 37 shootings, and you had seven fatal. Makes no sense. Makes no sense whatsoever. And make no mistake about it, we haven't even got to the cusp of the summertime. And all of these shootings took place on the west and south sides. All of this violence. All of this violence. But but we talk about this each and every day, each and every day, each and every day, each and every day. And we're asking ourselves the same rhetorical question: when does it end? When is it going to end? Okay. I don't have I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I have the answers. We have to understand the fact that there are some people who are just like that, who are just the kind of people that they are, just absolutely bad people, absolutely evil people, just absolutely incorrigible and despicable individuals. Absolutely despicable. And so, one of the most, and for all of this to happen on one of the most sacred weekends, okay, the most sacred weekends. But we have to understand something too, and just getting a little biblical here. We got to realize this too, that evil never takes a day off. How about that? Evil never takes a day off. The evil shows up for work every day. It arrives early and it stays late. Arrives early and stays late. It doesn't have any PTO. It doesn't have any vacation, any sick time. It doesn't do any of that. It just continues to go on and on and on. Now, on the flip side, some of you say, well, this is it's not going to be this way forever. And as soon as the Lord comes back, all of this going to change. Yeah, I'm not disputing that. But the bottom line and I'm going to hold to this, as I said all the time, we got to get there first. It's like it's simply put, it's a thousand, a 1,000-mile journey. The hardest part of a journey is the first step. We have to make these steps. And at the same time, we have to look at ourselves. We have to look at this particular generation of individuals that are doing this. And I've talked about this on numerous shows. I talked about this before on this platform. And, we could say, well, it's falling on deaf ears. But at the same time we still have to push forward in what we see, what we do, and how we go about it, how we engage, how we interact with one another, just various things on how to interact. Okay, these are one of the things. Now, now I'm gonna shift gears relatively quickly. um we had an incident, and this goes into our justice system. This goes into this. Okay, it definitely it ties into this. And so people will say, oh, the justice system is broke because there are people who are being let out, there are people who are being wrongfully accused. People people this is a part to where some of you need to wake up, open your eyes, get your head out of your asses, and stop looking for the blame. Stop looking to blame something, because the first thing we're going to do is blame the system. The system is a thing. The people in charge of the system are the entities that are in charge of the systems are persons. There's where the blame begins. There's where the blame starts. There's where there's where the beginning is. If you have individuals that are in control of these particulars, have the authority, have the power, have the ability to correct certain things, but choose not to, this is a problem. Okay. I'm gonna go into there's an incident took place, and this is and this is just absolutely horrible. Okay, horrible. I'm going into this thing, and it's this particular section, this particular um segment of the show. It's basically talking about the domestic violence and the trail of destruction that it leaves behind. Okay, let's for a moment. Okay, for a moment, let's put the individual, the suspect, the perpetrator, the offender, let's put them aside for a moment, because these are individuals who are going to do what they're going to do. Okay, let's be clear about that. It was a young man. I say it was because he's no longer with us. This young man, okay, about 2 weeks ago, an incident took place um on the north side of Chicago, where a young boy by the name of Jaden Perkins was allegedly murdered by the boyfriend or the ex-boyfriend of his mother, who, by the way, subsequently wind up not only killed this boy who was defending his mother. That's what makes it so hard. This 11-year-old boy is defending his mother against this animal. And I say animal in a loose term. But then I retract that because because in the animal kingdom, there is a law. There is certain things that they don't do. So so I retort. Let's just say this monster that the people who are in charge of the system let loose into the community. Okay. And if you're from Chicago, and not so much from Chicago, but this has been all over the news, social media, everybody, on how this colossal breakdown was a lot has allowed, and the collateral damage that it has caused. And I know that, and trust and believe, I know people who've been in this situation, and then there are some of you who are in this situation and you just feel absolutely helpless. Now, on the side note, there are men who are also victims of domestic violence from individuals too, whether it's male or female. This does happen, but the domestic violence crime is underreported for men. Why is underreported? Because men don't report it. They're not taken serious. I've even had a story that was brought to me where the officer told the individual, "Well, you're a man. You should be able to handle her. Do what you got to do." Now, this is a police officer, This is a sworn police officer who is advising another individual to commit an act of violence. But he didn't say you have, by all means, defend yourself. But he threw in there his gender. You're a man, you should be able to handle it. That's not the point. That's not the point. But at the same time, and I don't want to be all over, but at the same time, police officers are limited into and what they can do in these particular areas. A lot of this starts when the individual who commits this offense, no one is looking at the maelstrom that this individual has created. Let's just say this individual has a rap sheet from here to across the street. How are we not looking at this? Or he's been put in custody, and here's the part that's going to really flip your lid. He's put in custody. He goes to court. He goes before a judge, or let's say he or she goes before a judge, because I don't do the pronoun bull crap. I don't do that. It's either he or she. Okay. They go before the judge that followed the next day, blah, blah, blah. Hey, this is what we're going to do. I need an order of protection. Okay, the judge signs off on the order of protection, blah, 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 boom. Hey, you can't do this, you can't do that. You can't be in possession of firearms. You got to go to mental health. You got to go to mental health school, for lack of a better word. You have to if you have any weapons, you got to turn those in. You got to do drug rehab. You got to do rehab and all this kind of carrying on. Also, you cannot be within a certain amount of feet of this individual. Now, understand something, people. This is written down on a sheet of paper. The logic is this. What is that piece of paper going to do? How does that piece of paper protect someone against another individual who is dead set on doing what they want to do anyway? Here's another fallacy. And see, I'm gonna get it, and see, I'm gonna tell you why it's a fallacy. I'm gonna tell you why. They tell people, okay, they do the same thing when they say, okay, you get a domestic, so you get an order, you get a NCO, what they call a no contact order or order protection. It's a piece of paper. You get convicted of a gun crime. Guess what? You have to register as a gun offender. Earl, kid you not, a gun offender. You have to register. Individuals who have been convicted of sex crimes, they go on the sex offender registry. It's a piece of paper. A piece of paper. Now, I'm gonna throw this out at Earl. Now, Earl, you really think those pieces of paper are gonna stop somebody if they really want to do something? It's a piece of paper, right? If this guy is going to be in possession of a firearm, if he wants a gun, he's going to do what? He's going to get one. If this individual who has been convicted of a sex offense, do you honestly think telling him that he can't live within certain feet of a school or a school, a park, a daycare, any place where there are children that are 18 years or under, do you really think that that's going to stop him, this piece of paper or this registry? Do you think that this piece of paper is going to stop someone who is dead set on doing this other individual harm, an order of protection or NCO? It's a piece of flipping paper, which leads me to what happened with this young man, this 11-year-old boy. 11-year-old boy who was tragically murdered by another individual. And here's the sad part. This individual, as I go through my notes, this individual, the alleged offender, Corsetti Brand, is charged with killing this young boy and trying to kill his mother. Here's the caveat, people. He had been released from prison on parole just hours prior. So that means that once he got out of prison, he went straight to this woman's house and attacked her son and tried to kill her. What made these people think that that piece of paper was going to stop him? Not to mention that this guy has a history of violence in his background. Oh, wait, let's stop. The reason that he was in prison initially because she was convicted of a home invasion. Home invasion. That's a violent crime. A violent crime. And then in the process, these are people who are either who are cowards, or they had got they had got pressured into releasing this individual. As I read on, the following weeks after Perkins' death, 2 members of the Illinois Prison Review Board have stepped down, including the lead reviewer of the case. The lead reviewer who read the case. As they say, and I don't say this to be jokingly or anything, but it's no fun when the rabbits got the gun. This man showed up at this woman's house at 6 o'clock in the a.m. and attacked her son and her. So, but this leads me to when I say about the individuals who are in control, or who are in charge, or let me rephrase that, who are put in charge of a system that they are supposed to oversee. They're put in charge of people that they're supposed to regulate. The unfortunate part is they'll say sometimes we have to wait for the incident to happen for us to make changes. Why does it take that for someone to use a little bit of common sense? A little bit of common sense. See, here's the other thing too. When you go before the prison review board, okay, and they do the little tap dance, they do their little song and dance and things of that nature. Do you know that the governor has to sign off on this? He has to sign off on this. So you don't so at some point, at what point did anybody in this room not look at the fact of what he was there for? And this is not the first time that he has committed this type of domestic violence offense. How does this work, people? How does this work? We can't have people say, "Oh, well, you have to take it up with legislation." No, what you're doing is you're patronizing people, and you're not being held accountable. Now, if these two people who stepped down, now what's really puzzling is that the lead reviewer was one of the people that stepped down. Here's my theory. If the lead reviewer stepped down, that's because you saw his background, but it wasn't important enough for you to say, no, we have to do it. See, this is the part to where, and just before, I know I've gone to, I've, just kind of drifted a little bit. Not to say drifted, wrong word, but I did want to let people know that if you have a comment on this particular topic, the phone lines are open. So if you have a comment, or you have a comment, give me a call here at the studio at 708-223-8953. That's 708-223-8953. We're talking about this segment is about domestic violence and the people who are running it. The people who are running it. Okay. This is what we have to look at. Here it is. We lead the country in wrongful convictions, but we wind up letting some of the people who should not be on the streets out, and we wind up locking up people who shouldn't even be there. It's not a matter of a broken system. It's a matter that it's a matter of the system. Let me be clear. The system is not broken. The system has been put in place. The system is designed to work the way it was the way it's designed to work in the manner that it was designed. The system works in the manner that it was designed. It's the people who are circumventing the system. It's like if you take it's like a car manufacturing plant. You have the blueprints, and they're telling you, hey, this is how this car is to be put together. This. You put these nuts these nuts goes with these bolts. These nuts go on these particular lugs. This screw goes in between here and there. You got to put the washers here. These washers, make no mistake, these washers are very important when you're putting the engine and the transmission together, or you're putting the doors on, or you're putting the windshield in. You got to put the glue around. Everything on that sheet of paper is there for a reason. It's for the design, and not only design, but for the safety of it's for the design of the vehicle, and the safety of the occupants. So if we say, oh, when they drove the car off the assembly line, and then one of the wheels fell off, can we say that that was a bad design? No. It was put together wrong? No. It was that someone didn't do their job, because it wasn't important enough for them to make sure that when you're putting on the tire, when you're putting the wheel on the hub of the car, that you are fastening those lugs up in a specific order. And for those who don't understand, for those who are still in the dark, when you're changing a tire, you put your lugs back on in a specific order. You don't do them in a circle. You do them in a star, and you do them in a star pattern. You go across from one another. That is a design to make sure that the tire seats properly against the hub. That's the analogy on why I say that the system it works. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just the people who are in charge, who are looking at the blueprints, and decide that they want to make changes. And subsequently it costs people their lives. And whatever changes that they decided to let this individual, this monster, back out into society to do exactly what he intended on doing. Now, the other excuse me, the other question is what were the questions that these individuals that that the prison review board asked this individual? What were the questions? What was so convincing that they decided to approve his release only for him to go hours later and commit a murder? And not only that, but he murdered a child. Murdered a child. The mother is still currently still hospitalized at an undisclosed location, as she should be, because this is the part where people failed her. I heard people say, well, Chicago police failed her too. No, no, I disagreed with them on that, because the CPD had little to no information on what happened, who this was, and who they were looking for, and the circumstances. No, you have to go back to the very beginning. People, you have to start we have to start holding people accountable for these for things that we know that we have the ability to straighten out, fix, change, or correct. But there are a lot of you, as you go through your life, as you have gone through your life, you have sat on you have pushed it aside, stood on the sidelines, not got involved to make a difference, to at least try to make a change, make a difference, to put someone on the right track, to make a level of correction. And this is what we, unfortunately, do in the Black community. Will we say this is a black on black crime? Absolutely. This is a man who's in his mid 30s, attacked and killed 11-year-old boy who was protecting his mother. How horrific, how horrific of a human being do you have to be? Or for even let's move on. Let's go down this road. When you get an individual who is so horrific till he will wrap his hands around another around this is the same individual who will wrap his hands around a pregnant woman's neck and try to choke the life out of her and the baby, while your other children are standing by watch while they're trying to looking at this. What type of human being do you have to be? But then you have some say, "Oh, I love her," or you get some women say, "Oh, I love him." You love them so much that you stabbed him to death because you were upset that he no longer wanted to be part of your life. Will we say that that's a level of evil? Some people say yes, some people say no. It's just tomatoes, tomatoes. But at the end of the day, that's a conscious decision on what you decided to do. You can't sit there and say, "Oh, well, the devil made me do it." No, he didn't. He stood by and watched you do it, and he just wrote it down, say, "Okay, yeah, well, you do this, you're coming with me after it's all over. So I got this one. This is another log for the fire. Another log for the fire." But once we look at this, and then here's another thing too, and I can't, I can't, not I can't not say something about the fact that um soon to be ousted Kim Fox. Thank gosh. She just needs to go somewhere, find a little corner or a hole and crawl into it and just not come back out or come back. Please, because the level of violence that has overtaken the city under her watch is absolutely deplorable. I've never seen anything, and I've never seen this. I don't. Let me rephrase. I don't. I can't recall seeing the level of chaos at this magnitude under her. Huh? No, no, no. Well. When you okay to when I say the level of chaos, one of the things, and this is a sidebar, when she raised the uh, uh, the amount of retail theft from, I think, from the time it was 350 up to 1,000. This gave this gave these people, this gave them carte blanche to go and create, to go and to do smash and grabs. Because here's the thing: if they get caught, they're going to get a death ticket. All they're going to do is write them a ticket, write them a ticket, write them a ticket. And this is just not, and this is across, and this was across the board. When you had, you had blacks, and you had Hispanics, you had a few white people, you had everybody walk of life that were doing smash and grabs in Cook County. Well, sure. No, he's saying not me. I mean, no, we because we work hard for our money, and we not go, and we don't need to steal. But when opportunity, see, these were people, and these were people who were opportunists. Opportunists. This is what this was, and it got out of hand. Certain programs for certain cities may work, and they may work for that city, but they may not work for this city because of the demographics. Now, when we get talking, when we with this domestic violence situation here, and the family of the decedent and the woman, as they rightfully should, they want to hold people, they want people held accountable, because this was totally unavoidable. This was totally unavoidable. This was totally avoidable. No one can sit and say we didn't see this coming. No one can sit there and say we didn't think that was the kind of person he was. Well, very simply put, when you are doing a home invasion, that means a home, okay, to break down a home invasion, that means that you broke into someone's house, someone's domicile, someone's residence while they were there. And if they decided to to tangle with you, you wouldn't go, you were going to stop at nothing and harming or killing them. What part? Now here's the thing. Here's the thing. This guy is not only charged with murder, but he's also charged with what? Home invasion. Home invasion. Now here's another little tidbit that's just so mind-blowing. The family is angry the fact that Brand was released from prison in the first place. Perkins' mother filed an emergency order of protection not long before Brand was released from prison, and that the Cook County Court confirmed. The Illinois Prison Review Board said they did not know the order of protection was filed when Brand was released. Two state prisoner review boards resigned last week. Blah blah blah. Uh, uh, but it still goes into the part of domestic violence, and the family is trying to. They're putting together a petition to change certain laws, to change certain procedures. The bottom line is, if you are the prison review board, it is your job to find out everything that concerning this individual that you're about to release back into the wild, to make sure that there are nothing that's outstanding or pending. Your excuse is we didn't know that he had an order of protection. Not knowing is not the same as not doing. It's not the same as not doing. How many people, and this is just one of many this is just one that was reported. How many other people, men and women, have had the same situation happen to them that hasn't made the news? How many people? Did the system fail? It's not so much as the system failing, it's the fact that the people who are in charge of the system failed to follow the blueprint as it was designed. It goes back to building an automobile. if you don't build that car with everything that is on, that if you don't put follow the guidelines of everything on that sheet of paper that's been put on that sheet of paper for this vehicle, you're going to have a failed vehicle. A failed vehicle. So this individual, Corsetti Brand, is charged with um he's charged with obviously first degree murder. He's charged with first degree murder and violation of order of protection, home invasion. Um yeah. Here's more information here. The superintendent says the suspect was on parole after being sentenced to prison for 16 years for a home invasion, and guess what? Was on EM at the time he committed this murder. So that means once again, somebody's not doing their job. If he showed up at this woman's house at 5:30, 6 o'clock, how is it that his monitor or whoever is supposed to be, quote, monitoring this thing didn't get an alert that this guy is in violation and we need to find him? As I go to say that he's charged with 1 count of first-degree murder, 1 count of first-degree attempted murder, 3 counts of home invasion with a dangerous weapon, 1 count of armed robbery with a dangerous weapon, 1 count of aggravated domestic battery, 1 count of unlawful use of a weapon by a felon, 1 count of violation of a prior order of protection, and 1 issuance of a warrant for parole violation. I'm not understand. So if you can see this, and see, this is the part to where the police department have piled on these charges. Okay, fine. But it's up to the prosecutors to enforce these particular things. I would hate to be the public defender who's going to get this case, because how honestly, how hard do you think these people are going to fight for this person? How hard do you think they're going to fight? And here's the bad part. He's going to prison for the rest of his life. That's a guarantee. If this woman is able to testify, or even if she's able to do it through an affidavit or written statement or through Zoom, and she identifies this individual, Corsetti Brown, as her assailant, it's a wrap. It's an absolute wrap. Absolute. This is a prime example of people not doing their job. And it costs other people. This is what happens. When you don't do your job, it costs other people. It costs other people. This is what happens. This is one of those things that happens. Now I'm gonna shift gears right quick while I have a little bit of time left. I want to get into something that actually I had 2 topics, but I'm not sure. I'm gonna try to see if I can squeeze both of them in. Okay. I want we have this issue here in the Black community of the concerning our Black men. Okay. And when I say concerning, I'm being facetious when I say that. And when I'm being facetious, referencing I'm talking about men who are in position who are in position of power, who are in a position of authority, who are in a position who can be in a position, or who are in positions of for lack of a better word, means, and not applying it. I want to address these men who have the means to do better, as far as their family or their children are concerned and choose not to. When you have men that have decided they're going to gallivant across the world and act like that there is no level of responsibility that they are obligated to do, that's a problem for me. That is a problem. This is one of the reasons why we have this crop of nappy head Negroes running around now because there was nobody minding the store. See, sometimes women, when they say these particular things, they will say, "Oh, you know what? I can't understand why I keep attracting niggas who ain't shit." Okay, to a certain degree, sweetheart, you have to look at yourself. What you have to look at yourself on why you keep attracting. It's like you ask yourself, why are flies attracted to doo doo? So you have to ask yourself that question. That's the best analogy that I can give. So ask yourself that question. But then at the same time, if these men who are, roughly called just flies that's landing on doo doo, because it is what it is. It's not, if you're not going to swat it away, if you're not going to demand more, then why should you? Why? See, one of the things that we fail to understand when it comes to um our partners, our mates, or relationships is that sometimes we lower our expectations, and in the expectation that you could meet them halfway and kind of raise them up. No, it's always the opposite, because when you lower your expectations, you always wind up staying where they are, or they'll wind up pulling you further down. That is a known fact. But when I get to these men who have brought forth this child or children into the world, and sometimes we have men um who think by just getting up and going to work, or what I call, for the short version, is getting up and just doing the minimum. And then you have some men that just get up and go to work, bring home a paycheck, and they think that's all that they have to do. No interacting with the kids or children, no ideology on how to grow a home, how to build. Now, a lot of that, and this is just a sidebar, and a lot of this comes because our men are not teaching our boys how to build homes. There are men right now, I kid you not, who are in their 60s that have no idea how to raise children, how to raise boys, or let alone don't know how don't know how to teach their boys how to build a home, how to create a home. Because why? They didn't build one for themselves, or they didn't want one to begin with. They did not want one to begin with. Did not. So when, and to a certain degree, I can't fault women for taking the higher ground and raising their children. And granted, let's just be totally honest. Now, and it's a slippery slope. But if she took the initiative, and maybe, and as flawed as it may have been, she took the initiative of what that man should have been doing. She took the initiative with that child or children to build something, even if it's somewhat dysfunctional. She did a better job than he did. He didn't even make the attempt to create an environment to where the level of dysfunction does not exist. And that is so prevalent in the Black community, a, our level of dysfunction. And we continue to operate in that environment as if it's okay. We don't provide our children, and unfortunately, this generation, we didn't provide our children, or some of us anyway. Some of us did not provide our children with some of the basic life skills, such as problem solving, such as money management, such as critical thinking. Now, here's the caveat in that. You can't teach your children how to do that if nobody ever taught you. If nobody ever taught this man how to do those particular things, he can't teach his children. If no one ever taught that woman how to do those things, she can't teach that child. But I tell you this much, it's a bunch of you all out there. They sure as hell, you like getting those two names out there. Well, my name is Susie, and well, my child's name is Joe, Sausage Head, whatever, and you'd like to put those two names together for whatever reason. And I'm being rhetorical when I say it, because there is a reason. Because the whole idea why women do that, why putting two names on a child, is because she's exerting, what she's doing is exerting her authority that she actually doesn't have. But when we're not teaching these children, and this is the problem that we have, or why we got what we got right now. This here's what a farmer would consider a bad crop, and what he would do is that when he realized he has a bad crop, what he would do is that he would just set the whole field on fire, because it was there. Because why? Because there was no value. And right now we have a crop of individuals, and I'm referencing my generation of adults. This is a bad crop. Set the field on fire, burn everything to the ground, and start over. When you have children, when you have children, and you have not given them certain skills on how to function in everyday life. But this is one of the other things that we tend to do also. The first thing we do is that we say, Jesus is going to work it out. Or we'll throw the spiritual blanket over everything just to cover this. This should work. No, it doesn't. It doesn't work that way. We have to put the work in order for changes to come about. When we have children that are disobedient or disrespectful, or are just continue just have made up in their mind this is what they're going to do, to a certain degree you have to ask yourself, where did I go wrong? But at the same time, these are individuals who are making conscious decisions. It's a conscious decision, conscious choice. So it's kind of 50-50. But if you were installing, if you instill certain things into these individuals, going back to the older model, such as ourselves, and even going back to the first model, meaning our parents or grandparents, a lot of this can be alleviated. Here's the thing. Here's the thing that was so prevalent. When you find children that were raised by the grandparents, I just never could wrap my head around that. When you would hear that. I went to school with a couple of individuals, and they would say, I was raised by my grandmother, or my grandmother this, my grandmother that. And in my mind, thinking, well, where the hell is the parent or parents at? Where are they at? Now that's not now, like I said, that's too it's a double-edged sword. There's double-edged sword, and and I'm just keeping it real. I know people that have raised their grandchildren, which made no sense to me. And I say that in all truthfulness, but at the same time, it does make sense because they didn't want to see that child go down the tube because the parent was too busy doing whatever they were doing, gallivanting out in the streets, had their head up their ass, doing this or doing that, or just don't give a damn. So to a point, the grandparents stepped in. I have to put this child on something, on track, on something. If you look at different, if you some of the NBA players, and you do the and you look at that, you look at their bio and background. Some of them were raised by their grandparents. Raised by their grandparents. I give you a good Jimmy Butler, who plays for the Miami Heat. Jimmy Butler's mother, a wayward one, was a wayward woman, out there wilding and everything. Got to a point she didn't want to be bothered with Jimmy Butler, and she put him out at 13. She put him out at 13. 13. Jimmy Butler's grandmother stepped in, and Jimmy Butler was raised by his grandmother. She put him on the track. She kept him at. She put him on the track. Education, throughout his schooling, college, everything. Now he's one of the premier NBA players, one of the premier players in the NBA. That's a prime example of not allowing your circumstances to dictate your situation, to dictate your circumstance, to dictate a situation. That's a prime example. There are others who have allowed this to happen because they just don't care. Or there are other individuals who have allowed their children to be who have become mates, who have become friends. I've said this before, who have become who have developed a friendship with their children, with their child or children, and then they wonder why the child or children talks to them in a manner, treats them in a way, such as being disrespectful. These are the things that we have created. As I said, we have this generation, unfortunately, my generation we have that some of us have planted have planted a very bad crop of children, a very bad crop of children. And then we wonder why it's not bringing it yields nothing good. We wonder why this crop doesn't bring forth anything good or viable that we can use. Absolutely at all. You know what? I was it. Yeah, this is one of the things that just kind of behooves you, and then you look at some of these individuals, the lifestyle that the lifestyles that they have engaged in, or you see the mother and the daughter twinning, they best friends. All of this kind of carrying on. As I say, and I'm not saying when I say, and I'm saying this, say this in rhetorically. And one more thing, because I got about 30 seconds. When I say, when you look at this as a farmer would, when I say that he burns his crop, he burns it. A farmer will burn his crop in the literal. But when I say for us to burn our crop, we have to start addressing the things that have brought us to this point. We can't worry about somebody's feelings being hurt, because I don't give a damn about your feelings. If I'm going to tell you something, I'm going to be right about it. And whether you like it or not, but I'm going to be right and I'm going to stick to it. But anyway, with that being said, I see the helicopter in the air and the lights are flashing, which means what? That's all the time we got here on tonight's show, iHeart Intellectual Radio Black Conservative Podcast. Hope you all enjoyed the show. Take something, take some meat from this and let it marinate. Don't sweat. You take a bite of this, you chew on it, let it marinate, and then you swallow it, and then let it grow. And in closing, hey, not my monkey, not my circus. Right now, I got to get to the city because right now there's a crime being committed and the Batman is needed.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger. Ready to move out.